So good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is a 45-minute Bowspring practice here, going to about 10:15 a.m. on the Pacific time. So I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, same time zone as Vancouver and LA, San Francisco, Seattle, etc. The purpose of the Bowspring practice today is just to be playful, and I think that's a huge element in any yoga practice or mindfulness or movement practice, is to just have fun and be a kid again. So please sit up tall, reach your arms forward in front of you, and touch the tips of your fingers together for globe hands. And instead of being static and rigid in your practice, allow yourself to sway a little bit, whether that's forward and back or side to side or some sort of combination of those movements, just as if you're blowing in the wind. And then we'll begin with one collective breath together. So deep breath in, and then deep breath out. Okay, open your eyes, and then touch your hands down in front of you. Move any props you may have used off to the side. And then here in all fours position, actively push your hands down. Lift your rib cage up slightly, lean a little bit to your right, and lift your left leg behind you. Imagine your left leg was on a shelf that you could push down on to move your hips back, and then just pulse your leg up and down, maybe about 5 or 6 times. Okay, and then switch, lift your right leg. So think of it on something that you can pull down on as leverage to get your leg stronger. And then once you maintain that strength, pulse the leg up and down. Okay, and then lower your knee down, tuck your toes under, and lift your knees to hover away from the floor. This pose is called bear pose because it's kind of like a bear. Actively push your hands down, lift your rib cage up, lean towards your your right hand so you can rise onto your left fingertips. And then option here to lift your left hand, cup the back of your head, hug your elbow in. Next stage is to cup the back of your head with your right hand too, but you might not be at that level yet. So instead, just switch hands, lower your left, rise onto your right fingertips, pause, push, lift your rib cage up, and then cup the back of your head, hug your elbow in for 3, 2, and 1. Lower your hand down, lower your knees down. Making a switch here, point your toes back, lift your left leg out to the side, rise onto your left fingertips, and then lower and lift your leg, coordinating the movement with your breath. So you inhale, open, and exhale, close. Okay, next time your leg is out to the side, keep it out to the side, and then add a little bit of a bicycle action. It's like going for a bike, but on your hands and knees, which would be really strange. Be like a really massive skateboard that you would just like kneel on. Okay, and then lower your knee down, lower your left hand down, rise onto your right fingertips, and then lift your right leg out to the side. Lower your leg down and reopen your leg. And continue that. Open, close, open, close. I forgot to mention it might be helpful to have a bare wall. Bare as in B-A-R-E. If you had a bare B-E-A-R wall, that would be really scary. Some people use doors when going for inversions. If you are going to use a door, make sure you use the side where, like, when you put weight into it, you close the door and you don't open the door. Okay, keep the knee out to the side, and then bicycle your right leg. Okay, and then lower your knee down, plant your hands flat. Step your feet back a little bit and lift up into crouching cat position. So down dog is when you actively push your chest towards your legs. Crouching cat is kind of an in-between between down dog and plank position. So you're like a cat, except you're crouching. Bend your knees, tilt your sit bones up, push your arms straight so that your rib cage gets light. And one of the defining features that differentiates crouching cat and downward dog is in crouching cat, it is possible to lift, say here, the left hand, cup the back of your head, and pulse a few times. And then switch sides. In down dog, it's actually very difficult to lift one hand. So cupping the back of the head right, point your elbow down, push your head into your hand, lift your chin. Okay, and then lower your hand, bend your knees, spring your legs, and then hop forward and back a few times. So just forward and back, forward, back, forward, back. Eventually come forward and then rise up, place your hands to your thighs for recovery position. Recovery is just the Bowspring version of child's pose. It's a little bit more active, so you can catch your breath, but without dropping your energy completely, which is useful at times. But sometimes you can end up doing a practice where you do something energetic and then you kill the energy with child's pose, and you do that over and over again and you don't really build to anything. Push the knees forward, move your hips back, reach your arms straight forward, then bend your elbows, cup the sides of your head, and arc over to the left. As you arc to the left, take your left hand, hold the outside of your right elbow, gently nudge your elbow down, but push your elbow up into your hand and begin to spin towards the upper right side. As you move your hip back and push your knees out to the side, option to pulse a little bit. The nice thing with Bowspring is it encourages some movement, some play. As you go to the second side, just bring your arms out in front of you and sway your arms, swaying seaweed. Whee! Whee! And then cup the back of your head. Hey, Derek and Michael. And then arc over towards the right this time. Again, you can just stay here. If you want to change your arm variations to things like this, you're welcome to. But option to hold the outside of your left elbow this time with the right hand. Pull your elbow down, push your elbow up into your hand, and then begin to spin towards the upper left, moving your hips back, moving your groins back so the inner thighs rotate down and back, but you push the knees out to the sides. Actively grip down with your toes, your feet, or holding to the mat, and push your elbow up. Okay, and then come all the way up, and then lean to your right foot and lift your left leg so your knee is in front of you, holding it with both hands. And then actually holding on to the leg so your arms get strong here. Stage 1. Stage 2, hold under your thigh and then extend your leg straighter. Hold here, or float your arms up into the air for 3, 2, and 1. And then switch. Lean over to your left. Lift your right knee. Hold your knee with both hands. Look forward. I like bending the standing leg just to create a little bit of a challenge with the balance. Stay here or hold under your thigh. Extend your leg straighter. Look forward. And then float your arms up into the air. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then lower your foot down. This is where if you have a wall, you can quickly go to it with your back to the wall. You're always welcome to go into crouching cat or do those bunny hops that we did. But start with your back to the wall. Hinge at your hips. Bring your hands down. Be close but not too close to the wall. And then lean forward. Step one foot up and then the other foot up. And then You can tuck your chin in. If you ever have a lot of reading to do, you're always welcome to tape a magazine or a paper up on the wall. You just have to put it upside down and then just pause and hold here, and gives you something to do to read upside down. The hard part about phones, if you're watching Netflix or something, is that if you like flip it upside down, it automatically changes for you. But little does the phone know that you want to be upside down watching. That's so unfair. Finish for 3, 2, 1, and then lower down. Rise up, hands to your knees, and pause. Just stepping away from the wall if you used it. And then float your arms forward in front of you. Touch your fingertips together, globe hands. Lean to your right foot. Lift your left leg and take a little step back and a turn out to the side with your left foot. Put your weight into your back foot and then push off it and step forward. And then step back and step forward. Try to go as slow as possible and land with your toes first. Sometimes what I want to do is just freeze in a position and think that the video feed froze, but then it's not frozen. Place your right forearm to your thigh and then cup the back of your head, left hand for side coil position. Turn your back knee in, and momentarily you can use your left hand to grab your own left butt. You got 2 butts, left and right, and lift your butt up. Bend into the front leg, twist fully, and then hand to the back of your head. If you prefer a bind, you're always welcome to bind, or I actually like a version where I put a fist to the top of the head, push the head into the fist, and then use that as leverage to reach the elbow forward to get more of a stretch through the left side ribs. And then hold for a couple more cycles of breath. You're always welcome to just pulse and move your legs forward and back. Okay, and then touch both hands to the ground, pausing here. I like using a block for this next one, especially block a bit more to the outside of the foot, but you're always welcome to adapt as needed. Triangle bowspring is back knee bent, and then push your front leg straighter. So emphasize keeping a little arch in your low back. You can get that by using a thumb, putting it to the sacrum and pushing it in and up. The sacrum is just above the top of the gluteal cleft, which is a polite way of saying butt crack. So above the butt crack, move that in and up, twist, push your front leg straighter, and then again, you can adjust with your arm. My fave is, sometimes it's called rooster chop, where you put one fist to the top of your head and push, stretch the legs out, and then press with your feet, come all the way up, turn your feet in, reach your arms forward in front of you, swaying seaweed, and then bend your knees. Bring 2 fists together. I have an action figure growing up, Hulk Hogan, that did this action. He'd bear hug people. Bend your knees, move your hips back, tilt forward, and then touch your hands down. If you like using a block, you're always welcome to use a block just to come up to more of a halfway lift position. So emphasize the arch of the low back and push your legs straighter. And they may not go all the way to straight, and that's okay. And then option here to cup the back of your head, left hand. Option as well to hold the outside of your left elbow, gently pull the elbow in, but resist back as you push your head forward. Move your hips back for 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands down. Setting up for the second side. If you did that, cup the back of your head right. Move your hips back. Lift your left hand. Hold the outside of your elbow. Pull the elbow in. Push your elbow out. Look forward. You're always welcome to pulse to add a bit more fire and spice and everything else that is so nice And then exhale, bow forward. That's one of my neighbor's car alarms. That neighbor does that every single day. I just want to go out and say, hey, there's a button, there's a button, there's a button, there's a button. But it doesn't bother me at all. Exhale, bow forward. Oh, I think one of my neighbors is going to go yell at them. Hands flat, lean forward, and lift your heels up as high as you can. I hear some yelling. Okay, and then go hands to your knees. Turn your right foot forward. Push off your back foot and slowly step forward. Swaying a little bit side to side, and we'll just go over to the other side, which gets a little awkward because I just face a blank wall there, but step your right foot back and then step your right foot forward. I think if you set your alarm off every now and then, it happens, but every day, I was just pretending to be frozen. Okay, eventually step your foot back. Turn your right foot in. Place your left forearm to your thigh. And then you can use your right hand to pull your butt up. Arch. Because the advantage on this side is even being able to see that. So the natural curve of the low back is that it goes in, and then the natural curve of the upper back is it goes out. Place your right fist to the crown of your head and push your head forward. Move your hips back. It's actually interesting just because of this practice. I actually developed strength in my glutes, and then, I wouldn't say enhanced the curves, but just honored the curves. I actually don't have the capacity to lie on my back and put the low back on the floor if my head is also down. If I go in a crunch position where I round in all the way, then I can get my low back flat. But in order to keep a slight arch in the low back, I'll always have that with the head down. Again, option if you wanted to bind, you can do that. And then breathe in. On your next exhale, touch both hands down. And then just put some weight into your hands so you give the legs a little bit of a break. As Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod often say, body break. It's nice to have a little bit of a pause. Okay, I used the block for the triangle version. Again, it's a little different where the emphasis is more on stretching the front leg. So back knee bends, turns in, move your hips back, twist towards the right, lift the glutes up, push your left leg straighter, and the arm can go up or forward or to your hip or to the top of your head. Finding a bit of a pulse. Okay, and then push with your feet, come all the way up, and then turn your feet in. Slight change on this one though is have the feet facing out just a little bit. Bend your knees, and then sit low. Place your hands to your knees, drop your right shoulder down and turn to the left. Hey. And then go over to the other side. Drop your left shoulder down, look over your right. Okay, back to center. This one's often called horse stance. Lift your heels to hover, and then lift your arms into a chin-up bar position. Pretending like you're holding onto a chin-up bar that you can pull on to lift the rib cage up as you drop your hips further down and back. There's a leverage there. I'd even hold on here to my little shelves, but a few remember when I accidentally kicked them off in a live practice. Almost had poor Hanuman do his leap of faith onto my head, but fortunately landed on the block. Okay, and then now turn your left foot all the way out. Push off your foot, step forward. Reach the arms in front of you. Swaying seaweed. Weight your right foot, lift your left foot. Swing the leg back behind you, point your toes. Bring the top of your foot down and then your knee down. Move your hips back, one shin balance. Lift your front heel and then lift your front foot. So balancing only on one shin. If you're practicing with other people, you're always welcome to hold hands. You can always, as long as you're within the appropriate bubble and you used hand sanitizer, you can always use a wall as well. You're welcome to extend your front leg straighter. And then now lower your foot down. Reach your arms forward, make a wide sweeping arc to the left, so the back leg side, and then bring your left hand down, cup the back of your head right for baby mantis. Hug your elbow in, so it gives you more opportunity to broaden through your upper back. Push your front foot forward to move your hips back, and then lift your chin as you arc over to the side. You can add some breath work to that, whether that's an inhale to actually get in and then exhale out, or vice versa. I think it's important to learn that you can do either way. Inhale one direction, exhale the other, or vice versa. It's just different. Okay, push off of your hand, slowly rise up, arms forward, wobbly, lift your right leg, and then step your right foot back. Up to you for Camel Pose. If you want to go into a bit more of a traditional yoga move, you go hands to heels and lean back. Great stretch for the hip flexors. If you want to stay a bit more upright and not be as intense with the back bend, cup the back of your head, move your hips back, and then tilt forward and back. So forward and back. And as my old friend Hawk used to say, what a rush. Whew. Okay, then weight your right shin, arms forward. Step your left foot forward. Getting ready for one shin balance. So again, hand to wall is a great option. Move your hips back and then lift your foot. And then embrace the wobble or the wiggle option to go leg straight forward, to pause and hold. And then step your foot forward again. I might give myself just a bit more space by angling over to the left a bit, and then arc over to the right. Place your hand down, cup the back of your head, and then pulse. One of the advantages that shorter people may have is online filming of yoga classes in small spaces, because you can be a little bit closer in with the camera. I have to push myself right up against the wall, or I'll either lose my feet or lose my head, which both don't sound very good. Okay, and then push off with the right hand. Slowly come up, and then bring your left leg back. Touch your hands down, and then crouching cat position. Here in crouching cat, just move the block so you can see my feet. Lift your heels up high, and on an exhale, drop your heels to the right so your feet turn to the left. This one's called twisted cat left. So turning the body to the left, but the hands still stay fixed. And then pulsing the legs. So the difference between a twist and a turn is just turning the whole body like that. A twist, the shoulders still stay fixed, but then you're twisting your hips over to the side. So just knowing the difference lift your heels up, and then twist your feet to the right, because sometimes I see people do this right away, and that's just a different pose. It's not the twist. That's the twist. Okay, good news though. Go back to the first side. Have the feet in line with each other, so feet turn to the left. This time, lift your left hand. Woo! You could stack the feet on top of each other. Classic Bowspring calls this one side chair instead of side plank, just to have the knees bent. And the opportunity is there to get the bottoms of both feet to the floor. And then left hand down, and then over to the other side. Again, option to find a little bit of a pulse, arm up into the air, or reaching forward. Okay, and then go hands down, and then knees down. Pause. Instead of cat-cow, there's something called snake eel, where you just go side to side, tilting your left ear to left shoulder, right ear to right shoulder, and start to undulate your spine all the way down, creating a wave-like pattern. Snake. I don't know what an eel sound makes, like eel. Okay, tuck your toes under, lift your knees to hover, and turn your knees to the left, and then bring your right hip down. Then reach your right arm long, lie onto your side body. More challenging is push your head down into your arm to lift the side of your ribs and side of the waist away. So I can literally put my hand underneath. I've got a little bit of space there. And it just keeps the body fully engaged. And then lift and lower the left leg. Okay, keep it lifted. Place your hand to the front of your thigh. Push the knee forward into your hand and resist back to move your hips back until you feel a little arch in your low back. Then roll onto your back, just using the bottoms of your feet, the backs of your shoulders, the back of your head, and your glutes, just to position yourself into the middle of your mat. Reach your arms up, push your head down, and then lift your rib cage up away from the floor. So back of the head, back of the hips, and bottoms of the feet are touching the floor and nothing else, creating some strength and a lot of power required through the neck. And then come down, take a moment to pause. You can keep the arms up, of course. So I know some people who can get their rib cage maybe that far off the floor. For me, it's just maybe a centimeter or two. So there's no competition unless you're the best. Then it's always a competition. But if you're not the best, then just say there's no competition. Option to go further. Of course, you can just push your head down and try to lift your rib cage, and that still builds the strength in your neck without actually having to put all of the pressure there. So there's a lot that can be done just by trying to lift. So that's my little pep talk. Push your head down. Option, of course, to lift or try to lift, and then this time lift your feet as well. You can add a bicycle action as well. So you have to keep the rib cage steady in the movement. Of course, there's massive strength for the muscles around your neck in a fairly neutral position without the strain that you get through headstand, which is another one to build strength in your neck, but of course it's a little more challenging. Okay, and then come down, bring your arms alongside you. And then on this one, just lift your hips, tuck your tailbone under, and then see if you can bring your lower back flat to the floor. And then just do the opposite, lift your butt up, and then think of pulling your butt back and having it lifted. And again, just pulsing. It's kind of like cat-cow, but just on your back. And unfortunately, a lot of friends of mine misinterpret Bowspring as just like a ridiculous one single massive arch in the spine, but it's just neutral position. So finding the place that's in the middle where you have a slight lift in your low back and the upper back pressing down. Reach the arms up, turn your palms forward, and then bring the hands down like a chin-up bar position, but when you're on your back. So I can hold the front edge of my mat here, and then lift your feet to the height of your knees. And of course, if you ever wanted to push your low back down into something, then you could just roll up a t-shirt or something and put it underneath your back as something to push down into. But then lower your feet down and lift your legs up and continue that. I just have been to enough fitness, whether it's yoga or just like gym classes, where what's said is to protect your back, bring the low back flat to the floor. And then the moment I do that, it hurts my back. So then I don't understand, why would something protect my back if it hurts my back? Okay, then lift your legs up, hold them there, reach your arms up, and then lower your legs halfway to the right, and then arms over to the left, and you can add a little bit of a bicycle pedal. You can wiggle and shake out your arms, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off, and then go over to the other side. Legs to the left, arms to the right. I like to teach a lot to music and practice to music. Just when you broadcast things on the internet, you can't actually do that legally unless I sing my own songs that I've created myself, which nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear. Lower your feet down, move your hips a little to the left, and then reach your left arm long, lie on your side body. Again, as before, you can press your head down, lift the side ribs up and side waist. You can always just come up a bit higher and put your hand under your head and lift and lower your right leg. So just do what works. In this case, I can use the wall as leverage with the right hand. Next time the leg is lifted, keep it lifted. Place your hand to the front of your knee. Push your knee forward. Move your hips back. Emphasize the little arch in your low back, but broaden and widen your ribs. Place your hand to the outside of your knee, so you're pushing up into the ceiling that is your hand, and the ceiling is coming down and resisting. Okay, and then hand down, push your way up, and then crouching cat position. If you got some energy in you that you need to get rid of from lying down so much, you can hop on the spot. If you're near a wall that you could face the other direction, you're welcome to do that as well, where you hop up and touch that way. We're just having a little bit of playtime. You can always just be on your knees and be like, oh. Okay, and then back to crouching cat. Slide your right shin forward, and then place your left knee to the front of your right ankle. And then from here, move your hands forward. So it's kind of like figure four position with your legs, but setting up like pigeon. So push the hands forward, move your hips back, then pull your ribs forward, and eventually lower down onto your elbows. And the version I like to just keep things interesting is adding a twist. So it'd be just moving a little bit over to the right, place your left elbow down, make a fist with your left hand, right hand over the fist, and begin to twist from left to right. Okay, and then go right hand down, push your way back up, and then press back, crouching cat. Option to add a little bit of a yoga flow in here, so coming forward, plank, lowering down halfway, lifting up, just getting a nice stretch through the front body, and then press it back, and then switch legs. So left ankle crosses over right knee, point your back toes, push the hands forward, move your hips back, lift your chin, try to pull your ribs forward, and then lower down onto your elbows. So a bit more of a quietening pose, not quite as intense. For some, this is a stretch pose. For others, you can think of it more as getting stronger. So there's nothing wrong with not feeling a stretch in poses and instead just doing the pose and then engaging your muscles. Option to add the twist where you go over to the left, make the fist sort of thinking person, and then left hand over right fist, hold, hold, hold. Okay, and then bring your left hand down first. Push with your left hand to come up onto your right hand, and then press it back, crouching cat. Okay, then lower both knees down, all fours position. Lift your left leg back behind you. That's stage one. Stage two would be right arm forward. And then stage three is actually to reach back and grab hold of your foot. Kick your foot into your hand, lift your knee, twist towards the right. I know there might be a few online here who want to go for Sir Elton John's favorite, which is Tiny Dancer. That's where you go onto fingertips with your left hand and then even lift the left hand up. So you're balancing only on your shin in dancer pose. This is actually reverse dancer pose. Hold me closer, Tiny Dancer. And then switch. Fortunately, I didn't sing enough of that song to have it be copyright infringement. And then lift your right leg back. Reach your left arm forward. Or reach back, grab hold of the big toe side of your foot, kick your foot into your hand, lift your knee, twist to the left, rise onto fingertips, and then maybe lift your hand completely, pausing and holding. Okay, and then go hand down. Release your foot, hands, knees down. And then I just like to sit on a block for this seated twist. So it's just hero's pose. You could sit on your heels, but of course you can just sit on a block. Facing forward. Cup the back of your head. And point your elbows in. And then press your head back into the resistance of your hands pulling forward. So it's just kind of like gravity is your hands moving it. And then you're resisting back with your head. Okay, then make fists and put them to the top of your head and then lift up. So you're literally resisting gravity. And then twist to your left and place your left hand down. And just offering some variations as well. So there's that version. There's the other version where you actually have it be your left hand. You can use your right hand as leverage at the outside of the thigh to twist yourself further. Sometimes I just like to twist what I'm naturally capable of as opposed to using extra leverage. The reason there is at what point is too far when it comes to twisting. At what point is there actually like damage being done to your spine, the discs, the vertebrae. Okay, come back to center and then switch to the other side. So if you use the leverage, again, it's hand to knee, twisting yourself further, but it can be just nice to go easy on yourself. This has been a hard year. 2020. Okay, and then back to center. We'll just wind things down here in the last 5 minutes or so. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, turn them over to the left like we did earlier. Right arm long. Just wiggle your way onto your back again. And then extend your right leg up into the air. Hold the back of your thigh. I almost always do this with the left knee bent in this case and foot flat, just because it's a little bit easier to maintain that low back curve. And because the hamstrings are connected to your sit bones, if you're in a rounded position or a tucked under position, you're actually shortening your hamstring. So You can be in bent knee position with a slight arch in your low back and get more of a stretch for the backs of your legs than if they were straight, which is a pretty mind-blowing concept, especially if you're very flexible already. Okay, and then bend your knee, lower your foot down, and then switch sides. That's where it's been neat to see Desi Springer, one of the founders of Bowspring, because she's just incredibly flexible, but to see her power as well. And then also here in Victoria we have Alicia Jane, who does primal movement. For me, it's like, it's all I got. All I got is bent knee. There's no way I can't fake it the other way because I just don't have that flexibility. What do you got? Nothing. What do you got? Nothing. Okay, and then lower your foot down. I like to go chin up bar arms with twists just so that the upper back can stay broad versus having the arms out to the sides. So move your hips a little to the left and drop your knees over to the right. And then in this case, I actually let the left shoulder lift up and allow the legs to drop all the way. And then I just emphasize turning the rib cage from right to left. I used to be quite ruthless, being that like you had to keep your shoulders down, and if your legs didn't make it all the way, that's fine, but you had to keep your shoulders down. And now I change it to keep your legs down, and then if the shoulders make it, they make it. Well, in this case, the left shoulder. Okay, and then switch. Shift your hips to the right, drop your legs to the left, which I think just the idea of being able to change, it takes a lot of courage, but also a lot of playfulness just to try things and not have expectations of how they should or shouldn't be. Okay, and then final position before rest is to just shift your hips in line with your shoulders, cup your kneecaps so your knees are above your hips, and let gravity do the work of guiding your thigh bones down into your hip sockets. You can let the feet be floppy, and even add a little bit of a circle for your knees, which of course is then your thighs circling around, and then one by one slide your legs long for a final resting position. But if it's a little easier to lie on your side or belly, or if you'd like to go legs up the wall, do that. Make yourself comfortable. You may have a bolster you want to use. And then here, as you lie on your back, just pay attention to your breath. Just notice how the inhale expands you, swells you up. And the exhale can ground you, help you let go, and make space for the inhale again. And that cycle is always present within us. And beginning to see that on an annual scale through the seasons here in Victoria, as we've just transitioned to autumn or fall this past week, and the leaves are now changing color and shedding off the trees. Big breath in. And big breath out. And start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Move your head side to side. Then stretch your arms up and over, big reach. And bend your knees and roll over to either side. Slowly make your way up to a tall seat to finish. And then touch the tips of your fingers together one final time, globe hands. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. Namaste.